Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from the glorious Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 18. We're going to read verses 1 through 30, and then we're going to concentrate on text 25 and maybe text 30. Justin is our IT man with help in the back. Do we have a microphone? Are we all going to read? Jai. This is getting to the end. This may be the last section of King Chittiketu and the Vritrasura pastimes. Does everybody know the pastimes? Does anybody not know the pastimes? Raise your hand. You don't not know the pastimes. Okay. It's a very wonderful and amazing story. Before we get the microphone, just real quick, Narada Muni and Angira Muni helped this king to get a child because he couldn't get a child, right? And he got a son. But then the other queens were so jealous they killed the baby, right? So he's lamenting. And so this king, Chittiketu, got the association of Narada Muni and Angira Muni, and he became the disciple of Narada Muni, right? So he learned so much from having lost a child and Krishna consciousness, instruction of these great saints, right? Narada Muni, right? So he's flying through the air one time in a flower airship, and he sees Lord Shiva holding Parvati on his lap in a special yajna. And he's holding her and just embracing her. And so he makes a comment, or he laughs, and he makes a jokey comment. So Parvati hears this, right? She's sitting in the lap of Lord Shiva, and she's very upset. She curses him, right? So he comes down on his airship, and he begs forgiveness. He says, Mother, I'm so sorry, and in doing that, he explains, this is my karma. Things that happen to us are our karma. We have no control over it, right? So we have to accept the difficulties that life brings us. And he accepted the curse. He just said, okay, that's it. I accept the curse. And so the curse was to take birth as a demon, right? And he took birth as Vritrasura. And in the past times, which we've already gone through, he battled Indra, and he's finally killed. But he explains so much, and so much happens to explain Krishna consciousness and our relationship to the material world and how we see things. And that's what we're going to talk about a lot today in this chapter 18. Diti vows to kill Indra. And, excuse me, that was last. Yeah, this one, Diti vows to kill Indra. Are we ready to go? Jai.
Text 1. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Prishni, who was the wife of Savita, the fifth of the 12 sons of Aditi, gave birth to 3 daughters, Savitri, Vyarti, and Trayi. And the sons named Agnihotra, Pashu, Shoma, Chaturmasya, and the 5 Mahayagnas.
O king, Siddhi, who was the wife of Bhaga, the 6th son of Aditi, bore 3 sons, named Mahima, Vibhu, and Prabhu, and one extremely beautiful daughter, whose name was Asi.
Datta, the 7th son of Aditi, had 4 wives named Kua, Sinavali, Raka, Anumati. These wives begot 4 sons named Sayam, Darsa, Prata, and Pranamasa, respectfully. The wife of Vidatta, the 8th son of Aditi, was named Kriya. In her Vidatta begot the 5 fire gods named the Purishas. The wife of Varuna, the 9th son of Aditi, was named Karsani. Braj, the son of Brahma, took birth again in her womb.
By the semen of Varna, the great mystic Valmiki took birth from an anthill. Bhrigu and Valmiki were specific sons of Varna, whereas Agastya and Vasistha rishis were the common sons of Varuna and Mitra, the 10th son of Aditi.
Upon seeing Urvasi, the celestial society girl, both Mitra and Varuna discharged semen, which they preserved in an earthen pot. The 2 sons, Agastya and Vasistha, later appeared from that pot, and they are therefore the common sons of Mitra and Varuna. Mitra begot 3 sons in the womb of his wife, whose name was Revati. Their names were Utsarga, Arista, and Pippala.
O King Parikshit, Indra, the king of heavenly planets and 11th son of Aditi, begot 3 sons, named Jayanta, Rishabha, and Midusha, in the womb of his wife Paulomi. Thus we have heard.
By his own potency, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has multifarious potencies, appeared in the form of a dwarf as Urukrama, the 12th son of Aditi. In the womb of his wife, whose name was Kirti, he begot 1 son named Brihadsloka, who had many sons headed by Saubhaga.
Later, in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, I shall describe how Urukarma, Lord Vamanadeva, appeared as the son of the great sage Kasyapa, and how he covered the 3 worlds with 3 steps. I shall describe the uncommon activities he performed, his qualities, his power, and how he took birth from the womb of Aditi.
Now let me describe the sons of Diti, who were begotten by Kashyapa, but who became demons. In this demoniac family, the great devotee Prahlada Maharaj appeared, and Bali Maharaj also appeared in that family. The demons are technically known as Daityas because they proceeded from the womb of Diti.
First, the 2 sons named Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha took birth from Diti's womb. Both of them were very powerful and were worshipped by the Daityas and Danavas.
The wife of Hiranyakashipu was known as Kayadu. She was the daughter of Jamba and a descendant of Dhanu. She gave birth to 4 consecutive sons known as Shamlada, Anulada, Lada, and Pralada.
Yay!
Haribo. The sister of these 4 sons was known as Simhika. She married the demon named Viprachit and gave birth to another demon named Rahu.
While Rahu in disguise was drinking nectar among the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead severed his head. The wife of Samlada was named Kriti. By union with Samlada, Kriti gave birth to a son named Panchajana.
The wife of Alada was named Dhamini. She gave birth to 2 sons named Vatapi and Ilvala. When Agastya Muni became Ilvala's guest, Ilvala served him a feast by cooking Vatapi, who was in the shape of a ram.
The wife of Anulada was named Shura. She gave birth to 2 sons named Baksala and Mahisha. Prahlad had 1 son, Virukona, whose wife gave birth to Bali Maharaj.
Jai, Jai, Bali Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thereafter, Bali Maharaja begot 100 sons in the womb of Ashana. Of these 100 sons, King Bana was the eldest. The activities of Bali Maharaj, which are very laudable, will be described later in the 8th canto.
Jai, Bali Maharaj, 8th canto.
Since King Bana was a great worshipper of Lord Shiva, he became one of Lord Shiva's most celebrated associates. Even now, Lord Shiva protects King Bana's capital and always stands beside him.
The 49 Marut demigods were also born from the womb of Diti. None of them had sons. Although they were born of Diti, King Indra gave them a position as the demigods.
Okay, now we get a little more specifics. Everybody really pay attention. We're going to hear a little bit more details.
King Parikshit inquired, "My dear Lord, due to their birth,
King Parikshit
King Parikshit inquired, "My dear Lord, due to their birth, the 49 Murtas must have been obsessed with a demonic mentality. Why did Indra, the king of heaven, convert them into demigods? Did they perform any rituals or pious activities?"
So we have King Pariksit inquiring a specific question. Sukadev Goswami, go ahead.
My dear Brahmana, I and all the sages present with me are eager to know about this. Therefore, O great soul, kindly explain to us the reason.
Sri Sutta Goswami said, "O great sage Shonaka, after hearing Maharaj Parikshit speak respectfully and briefly on topics essential to hear, Shukadev Goswami, who was well aware of everything, praised his endeavor and with great pleasure, and replied."
Sri Sukadev Goswami said, "Just to help Indra, Lord Vishnu killed the 2 brothers Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakshashipu. Because of their being killed, their mother, Diti, overwhelmed with lamentation and anger, contemplated as follows.
Lord Indra, who is very much fond of sense gratification, has killed the 2 brothers Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu by means of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Indra is cruel, hard, hard-hearted and sinful. When will I, having killed him, rest with a pacified mind?
Ooh. She wants to kill Indra. We're going to go to text 30, and then we stop at 30. So we ready to go around again? Dustin's ready.
When dead, the bodies of all the rulers, known as kings and great leaders, will be transformed into worms, stool, or ashes. If one enviously kills others for the protection of such a body, does he actually know the true interest of life? Certainly he does not, for if one is envious of other entities, he surely goes to hell.
Diti thought, Indra considers his body eternal, and thus he has become unrestrained. I therefore wish to have a son who can remove Indra's madness. Let me adopt some means to help me in this.
Thinking in this way, with a desire for a son to kill Indra, Diti began constantly acting to satisfy Kashyapa by her pleasing behavior. O king, deity always carried out Kashyapa's orders very faithfully, as he desired, with service, love, humility, and control, with words spoken very sweetly to satisfy her husband, and with smiles and glances at him. Deity attracted his mind and brought it under her control.
Although Kashyapa Muni was a learned scholar, he was captivated by Diti's artificial behavior, which brought him under her control. Therefore, he assured his wife that he would fulfill her desires. Such a promise by a husband is not at all astonishing.
In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of the living entities of the universe, saw that all the living entities were unattached. To increase population, he then created women from the better half of man's body, for women's behavior carries away a man's mind.
Did everybody hear that, ladies? We're going to stop on that one. The better half of a man's body is a woman. Wow. Okay, we're stopping there. We've read about half of this chapter. And we're going to go back and do chapter 25. I'm sorry, text 25, more specifically. So please forgive my less than erudite translation of the Sanskrit, but let's have a go. Krimi vid basma samjasad Yes, yes, bhavistascha cha. Buddha druk tat krite svartam. Kim veda nirayo yata. Krimi vid basma samjasad. Yas yes abhihitasya cha. Buddha druk tat krite svartam. Kim veda nirayo yata. Please repeat. Mivid basma samam sasid. Let's all read the word for word together. Krimi, worms, vit, stool, Bhasma, ashes, Samya, name, Asit becomes, Yasya, of which body, Asa, Abhisasya, although designated as king, Cha, also, Bhuta, Duk, he who harms others, Tat Krite, for sake of that, Sva-artam, his self-interest, Kim Veda, he does know, Niraya, punishment in hell, Yataha, from which, excuse me, in case I didn't do it, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 18, Text number 25, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. When dead, the bodies of all the rulers known as kings and great leaders will be transformed into worms, stool, or ashes. If one enviously kills others for the protection of such a body, does he actually know the true interest of life? Certainly he does not, for if one is envious of others, he surely goes to hell. Purport. The material body, even if possessed by a great king, is ultimately transformed into stool, worms, or ashes. When one is too attached to the bodily conception of life, he is certainly not very intelligent. Om Agana Timrandasya Jananjanan Talakaya Chakshur Anmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Sva Padanti Kam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale. Thank you, Prabhu. Shri Advait Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shmati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashkatare Shatarine Vanchakopatarubhasya Kripasindhavasivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, thanks again for being here, everybody. Saturday, Srimad Bhagavatam class. And we're hearing the person that's just spoken in this verse is Diti. And she has said that she wants to kill Indra. So what's happened is we've heard the pastimes of what happened from her wanting to kill Indra, right? And Vritrasura and all that's happened has already been narrated. So now we're going back in time and we're hearing what started this. And so Diti is angry. Why? Anyone want to say? Why is Diti upset? Why does she want to kill Indra? I know you know. No? It was in there. Who were her sons? Right, and who killed them? Vishnu. So Diti considers Vishnu, the representative of Vishnu, Indra. So she wants to kill Indra in reprisal. And so she's got a very powerful husband, right? And so she's put on her very nice womanly charms, and she said, been very wonderful to him, and so he's very overwhelmed. What would you like, my dear? And she says, I want a son that can kill Indra. I want a son that can kill Indra. So he says, oh, you're going to send me to hell. So he hatches a plan that she has to do penances. And instead of the penances, she tries to do them right for a year, right? But he says, if you get even one thing wrong, instead of getting a son that will hurt Indra, you will get a son that will help Indra. So you can see what's going to happen. This vow what we're reading in the Bhagavatam is the purport is Diti's trying to give an excuse of why it's okay for her to want to kill Indra. But what's going to happen? She's going to get purified. She's going to do all these austerities that her husband gives her, and she's going to realize, oh, this isn't what I really want. I didn't really want to hurt Indra, you know. And Indra's going to come in, and he's going to protect himself. He's going to kill the baby within the womb of Diti, and he cuts the baby into 7 parts, and each part he cuts into 7 more parts, right? And those become, instead of dead baby parts, right, they become the maruts. Each one of them is a person. They survive. And they say to Indra, why are you killing us? Why are you trying to kill us? We're your brothers. And so Indra goes, you're right. So they come out and they all go back to the heavenly planets. And Diti's purified. And the pastime of Chitraketu and him being Vritrasura happens. And we're here to talk about the material body. Diti says, even if possessed by a great king, she's saying, ultimately, Indra's going to be just stool, worms, or ashes, right? Because what happens when the body dies? It's either burnt, and then it becomes ashes, or it's put in the ground, and what eats it? Worms, right. So then it becomes the stool of worms. So when one is attached to the bodily conception of life, and she says that because Indra's being too attached, trying to protect himself and fighting and all this, he is certainly not very intelligent. So we want to become intelligent. And everybody sitting here is so fortunate, you're unfortunate if you're not here. You're fortunate to be here because there's nothing better, there's no higher knowledge than Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. And they were all given to us by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Prabhupada comes in a line from Lord Chaitanya, right? And Lord Chaitanya is on the left side of our altar. He's there on the right with his brother, Nityananda Prabhu Ki, Shri Gaura Nitai Ki. These are the teachings they wanted us to have so that we can develop love of Godhead. We can develop pure love of Godhead, which is the goal of life. Why is that the goal of life? Because it can get us out of this material world, right? And their order is chant Hare Krishna. So let's read the 30th verse. It gets a little more, there's a little bit more to talk about. Excuse me, text 30. In the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of the living entities of the universe, saw that all the living entities were unattached. To increase population, he then created women from the better half of man's body, for women's behavior carries away a man's mind. This is what we're up against in the material world, right? Attraction, desire for sense enjoyment. Our senses are powerful. They want to enjoy. So we're going to hear, how do we overcome this? This is what devotional service gives us. It gives us a means to overcome our attachments to our material senses. Purport: this entire universe is going on under the spell of sexual attachment, which was created by Lord Brahma to increase the population of the entire universe, not only in human society, but also in other species. So sex desire serves a purpose. What is that purpose? Progeny, right? If we all die out, there's nobody on the planet anymore. So we have to have more children, more progeny, more generation after generation after generation. But that's not all we're here for, right? Are we here just to procreate and enjoy the act of procreation? No, it's a teeny tiny part of our life. And it's only a part of our life when it's done under regulative principles, right? Being married, having children to raise in Krishna consciousness. This is the goal. So Prabhupada goes on to say, As stated by Rishabdev in the 5th canto, Pumsam Striya Mituni Bhavam Etam. The entire world is going on under the spell of sexual attraction and desire between man and woman. When man and woman unite, the hard knot of this attraction becomes increasingly tight, and thus a man is implicated in the materialistic way of life. This is the illusion of the material world. This illusion acted upon Kashyapa Muni, although he was very learned and advanced in spiritual knowledge. As stated in the Manu Samhita and Srimad Bhagavatam, quote, a man should not associate with a woman in a solitary place, not even with his mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that they can lead astray even a person advanced in knowledge. Wow, is that scary or what? You shouldn't be alone in a room even with your own mother, your sister, or your daughter? Well, what if you have to be alone with them? What do you do to protect yourself? Chant Hare Krishna, right? This is something we're talking about, not so much devotees having this problem, but this is the way of the world, right? And out there in society, we're actually seeing these things happen. We're seeing how degraded and difficult and horrible the material world can be, that the Bhagavatam has to explain such a thing, that sometimes this would happen, that the sexual attraction is so strong that never be alone. A man and woman should never be alone in a room. When a man remains in a solitary place with a woman, his sexual desires undoubtedly increase. Therefore, the words ekanta bhutani, which are used here, indicate that to avoid sexual desires, one should avoid the company of women as far as possible. Sexual desire is so powerful that one is saturated with it if he stays in a solitary place with any woman, even his mother, sister, or daughter. Wow. So we have to be aware that the thing that's keeping us in the material world is sex desire. And not just desire for sex, but our desire for enjoyment, material sense enjoyment of so many varieties, right? Our senses are so powerful. We want to see beautiful things. We want to taste nice foodstuffs. And so this is really what we have to overcome. How do we overcome it? How do we overcome it? It's so powerful. Krishna says, right? Arjuna says, Krishna, overcoming my senses it's easier to control the wind, right? Krishna says, yeah, it is easier to control the wind than to control your senses. But there is a way to do it. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. Hearing, chanting, and remembering who? Krishna. Yes. Doing these things is called devotional service. When you perform devotional service, even one of these things, perfectly, you become a pure devotee. But it's better to do all of them, right? Or as many of them as you can. And perfect one of them. Like some days I'm not so good about chanting, but I'm trying to remember Krishna, right? Other days I'm chanting great, but I'm like, okay, I'm done with my rounds. I'm going to go do some errands or let my mind wander, right? So it's a constant battle. And this battle has to be addressed, right? You're all here for a reason. Why did you come today? Did you come to see the deities? Hear a little philosophy? Have some Krishna Prasad? 2 arms up for that, right? For me. Honoring Prasadam and devotee association, right? Where else do you find such nice people? You don't. I'm 62. I'll be 62 years old this year. I traveled the world a lot. I tried really hard to have sense gratification. Till about age 32, I joined Hare Krishna movement. It's not fun out there. It's not nice out there. Many of you have experienced that. Maybe some of you experienced, oh, man, some of the things I haven't done. It's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you happy. You're here for a reason. Your karma, your past lifetimes, you've had association of the Hare Krishna movement, of Krishna consciousness before. And you're here to take up where you left off. And so Krishna is so kind that he sends us wonderful persons like Srila Prabhupada who can explain this path to us. Okay, we're here. We've come to the temple. We're interested. What do we hear? What are we supposed to do? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. We're supposed to begin the process of Krishna consciousness. And this process of Krishna consciousness, I wanted to read from the Bhagavad Gita. Let's see. It's chapter 3, text 36. Because we all have the desire to be better, right? Some of us are initiated. Some of us are just curious. We probably all started chanting, right? But are we still struggling with lust, greed, envy, anger? Oh yeah, I still am. So, Arjuna said to Krishna, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? What is it? Does anybody know? It's in the next verse. Lust, right. So we're going to read what Krishna has to say about overcoming lust. Prabhupada says in the purport, when one is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to lust, which is which is the mind's association with the senses. Because lust exists in the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So really the way to overcome lust is to, first of all, get in the mode of goodness. But let's read what Krishna says. The blessed Lord said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion, and later transformed into wrath, which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, if the modes of passion, instead of being degraded into the modes of ignorance, are elevated to the modes of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. Baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. What is our real position? We're spirit soul, right? We're a spirit soul. And that spirit soul is not just, right, like a big spiritual blob or something, or like it's just a feeling. As a spiritual entity, we have a spiritual form. What's our body now? I got a male body, 62, grew up in Texas, right? But who am I really? We're really spirit souls. And did you know your spirit soul has a spiritual form? Yeah. It has a spiritual form that's eternal and related to Krishna in a beautiful relationship. But that knowledge is covered over within us because we wanted to come to the material world. We wanted to be little enjoyers, so we get a material body. So the uncovering of who we are in relationship to Krishna is the process of devotional service. And if we chant, if we do follow regulated principles, and doing that is devotional service. If you do perform devotional service, you can one day understand who you are in relationship to Krishna. It's an amazing, amazing thing. We are not this body, we're spirit soul. We have a constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme Soul. Does anybody know what constitution means? Have a go, come on. It's like a real basic thing, right? Ourself. Who are we really, constitutionally? A constitution is a set of, they're not even laws. They're more like principles And underneath it, a government will pass laws pursuant to the Constitution, right? And all the laws they pass have to be in line with these principles. Some of the principles like due process. You can't just be picked up by the police and thrown in jail and never charged and get, no, you have to have due process of law. If the government comes and says, I want your house, they can't just take it. They have to have due process of law. There's many other principles that are enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, in the Texas State Constitution, and they're really basic principles. The most basic principle for us is constitutionally, who are we? Is anybody curious? Does anybody want to know? I want to know bad, right? I really want to know. Krishna will reveal it to you from within the heart through the kindness of the spiritual master. When the spiritual master sees that you're ready to understand who you are and you become advanced in Krishna consciousness, you get to know who you are. And we know there's some really advanced devotees in our movement, right? They're extremely advanced personalities. They don't go around saying, I'm this, I'm that. No. When you're a pure devotee, first of all, you don't think you're a pure devotee, right? You're very humble. But you certainly have clues, intuition, ideas of who you are in relationship to the Supreme. And that's like the gravy, right? That's the good part. That's the icing on the cake, right? We're doing all this devotional service. We're trying to control our senses. But what are we doing it for? Well, at the end of life, I want to be able to concentrate on Krishna and remember who he is. Yes! So we go back home, back to Godhead. But in this very lifetime, you can advance in Krishna consciousness enough to know who you are in relationship to the Lord. You can be Krishna conscious right now. And if you're Krishna conscious, if you're a pure devotee, you're already back to Godhead practically, right? Because you don't care if you go to heaven, you go to hell, you're on the earth, it won't matter. Chitraketu Maharaj, when he's Vritrasura, he preaches like this. He didn't try to fight the curse of deity. He just said, this is, wherever I go, I'm going to remember Krishna, you know? It doesn't matter. Curse me. Send me to hell. You know, whatever. It doesn't matter. Make me a demon in the next birth. And as a demon, he had to be killed, right? So it's this concept of breaking through, of being really patient as well, right? How many years have we all been coming? Many, many years, right? It takes a little bit of time. And the more that you apply yourself and follow the regulator principles, chant Hare Krishna strictly 16 rounds every day, read, get up in the morning. Prabhupada's given us the template. He's given us the process. So can we complain if we don't adopt the process? Can we complain we're not understanding Krishna? Can we complain we're still affected by sense desire? No. Unless we apply the medicine, we shouldn't complain. But what's great about it is, even though we're all struggling to apply the process, it's still working, right? Did y'all hear this story? There was a doctor, a man was very sick. He couldn't keep down any food, not even water. He would drink water, he would vomit it back up. So he was dying, right? He was dying starvation, couldn't eat anything. So he goes to an expert doctor. Doctor says, give him ghee. And his friends go, what, ghee? He can't even drink water. How's he going to take ghee, right? You know, he goes, don't worry, just give him ghee. So every time, so they started giving him ghee, whatever, 3 times a day. He would drink the ghee and vomit it, drink the ghee and vomit it. But what happened? Each time he took the ghee and vomited it, a little bit stayed in there, right? A little bit coated his stomach. And that became more and more and more until nutrition, right? Finally, he was saved because enough of the ghee stuck. And it's like that for us. Even though we do devotional service and we think it goes in, right? And it goes right out, right? You have a great day, you come in the morning, you chant your rounds, you're remembering Krishna, you see the deities, the worship's wonderful, you hear a nice class, you have prasadam, and you're sky high, right? You're flying through the cosmos, you're ready to go back to Godhead, right? And then you walk out of here and you get in your car or you go home, and what happens? You go off the cliff, right? The phone sticks in your face, job, children, wife, problems, difficulty. Our senses are clawing at us. Why don't you go see a movie instead? Why don't you go out and eat something? Why cook something for Krishna? Just go buy it and eat it. Just make sure it's vegetarian, right? That's okay, right? You know, it's like it's a constant struggle. But the good thing is, remember, each time we add some ghee, each time we chant, every day we chant, it's coding. It's there. And one day it's going to manifest more and more and more. We're going to get spiritually healthier, right? It's going to happen. So be patient. One interesting thing Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita in the purport, lust is the perverted reflection of love of God. Love of God is natural for every living entity. Isn't that interesting? So love of God in the material world is just perverted. It becomes lust. It becomes perverted. But our lust is just a perverted form of love of God. So think about that. Think about what it must be like in the spiritual world to have love of God. It's perfect and pure. It's not lust. Lust in its purified form is love of God. It's not love for bodies, for all the different things you want to try and enjoy. It's just for Krishna. Just for Krishna. Wow. Is that really? That's it? Just loving Krishna, that's all? Yeah. Because if you love Krishna, you love everyone else too. And everybody else who loves Krishna, they're all together in the spiritual world. And if you love Krishna, that's where you want to be, right? So as we develop this love and we get to understand more, who is Krishna? You know, I see the deity, he's very beautiful, and sometimes, you know, I'll be praying and I'll be thinking of something nice, and a flower will fall off. Have you all ever seen that? Yeah, of course. The deity's interacting with us. When you become very advanced, right, the pujaris in Mayapur and stuff, the deities become very, very a part of their lives, right? They become very close to the deities. And so this is our goal. And it's so wonderful that even in this material world, we can develop love of God. It's not like we got to go somewhere else, you know? Right now, right here, we can develop love of God. And Krishna consciousness is how we do it. Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is so powerful. What we're doing is so powerful. First, what Prabhupada does is he recommends that we start Krishna consciousness as early in life as we can, right? Okay, I didn't come so early to Krishna consciousness. So here's the hope. Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can develop full love of Krishna by following the regulator principles of devotional service. And this means doing devotional service. Following the regulator principles is itself devotional service. And one of the wonderful things about becoming a devotee is that all the things you did before you became a devotee count as service. If you're a doctor, if you're a bricklayer, whatever you do, if you become a devotee and you use those powers, those abilities in service of Krishna, then all you did to prepare for that becomes counted. Krishna counts it as devotional service. So if you're a doctor, you know how long doctors study? I mean, it's like 5-6 years first in med school. Then they have, you know, time in the hospital, they have to get trained. It's a long time. Can you imagine how nice that would be to have all your service backdated? All I did going back is counted as devotional service. So we want to perform devotional service in such a way that we can understand our real nature. And we have to overcome lust. We have to execute the principles, I'm trying to think of the word. We have to follow the regulator principles if we want the result. And so following the regulator principles will allow us to overcome lust. That's what the verse is about, right? The verses that were assigned here. So that's why I'm talking about this in this way. So I hope that was okay. It's almost 8:30. Do we have any comments, questions? I meant to ask for questions earlier, but I did ask some questions. Yes?
Today's a fasting day for Varahadev. I was wondering if you'd like to say something about that.
Sure. Isn't that wonderful? Today is a half-day fast. It's also Ekadashi. Ekadashi is the mother of devotion. Why is she the mother of devotion? Because it's an austerity, right? No grains or beans. It's like all week long, I could go without eating a grain or a bean, right? But then on Ekadashi, suddenly like, oh God, in my fridge, that's all there is are grains and beans. I have nothing to eat, right? It's an austerity. We don't eat grains and beans because Lord Chaitanya told us to. And the only instruction he gave his mother, right, was, Mom, follow the Ekadashi. He didn't tell her chant Hare Krishna, right? She was already, you showed her. Right? But he did tell her, follow Ekadashi. So Ekadashi is important. It's a half-day fast for Lord Varahadev. I think Varahadev. Varahadev was mentioned indirectly because Hiranyaksha, who was one of the sons of Diti, Hiranyakashipu was another son. Hiranyaksha was killed by Lord Varahadev. Yeah, what's Lord Varahadev's form? Boar incarnation. In the Dallas Museum of Art, they have a little, what should we call it? Asia section. And in it they have quite a bit of they have a Shiva Nataraj, a beautiful Shiva Nataraj. They have some deities of Vishnu. Nandi is there, Lord Shiva's bull, beautiful little Nandi. And they have a gorgeous, beautiful sandstone Varahadev. He is so beautiful. You can see how Krishna could appear in an animal form, right, and be beautiful. His nose is sticking up. He has a beautiful thing. It's just a beautiful deity. And he has 4 arms, and Bhudevi is there, and the Lakshmis are there, and they're comforting him. They're with him. It's really nice, a beautiful deity. And most of him is intact. Some things have been knocked off, but he's really beautiful deity. So Lord Varahadev is Krishna showing us, Krishna's going to look after us, right? Because what happened? The earth got knocked off its axis and fell to the bottom of the universe. What's in the bottom of the universe? Causal ocean, right. What's at the bottom of all the water? Mud, right? Mud. Who's good in the mud? Boar, hogs, pigs. They know how to root in the mud and get stuff out of there. So Krishna is so intelligent. He took a form that he could go down there and go in and rescue the earth. And Hiranyaksha rescues the earth from the muck and mud and brings it out. And then Hiranyaksha had caused that, so he's very mad, so they fight. And Lord Varahadev kills Hiranyaksha. Who does this make very mad? Hiranyakashipu, yes. So he's very angry, and he wants to kill Vishnu. He wants to kill Lord Vishnu. So when his son, Prahlad Maharaj, turns out to be a disciple of who? Vishnu, Krishna. You can imagine he's enraged. He said, who taught you? Who taught you this? Narada Muni taught it to him when he was still in the womb, right? Prahlad's mother went to an ashram. They were going to kill her because the demigod's we can't have another son. Can you imagine a son of Hiranyakashipu? How bad he's going to be? So Prahlad, they were going to kill Prahlad. And then Narada Muni saves the day always, right? Who always comes and saves the day? At the right time appears Narada Muni and says, no, don't kill her. So he takes her away and he speaks Bhagavatam to her. He preaches to her. So all of these months that Prahlad's in the womb, he hears from Narada Muni. So can you imagine if you had a child and you were like a big demon and or you were anything, and your child comes out already opposed to what you are, like, oh, I want to have a son who will be a great chef or whatever it is. Well, he comes out and he's playing a violin, as soon as he walks out. Wait a minute, I want to have a son who could be a football star, right? No, it's not happening. So Hiranyakashipu very, very, very upset. And so I'm sorry I don't have any more information about Lord Varahadev. I guess it's in the Bhagavatam. Yeah, but do you have anything to share on it? What do you like about? The incarnations of Krishna are amazing. It's just yeah. And if you go see that deity, he's really beautiful. It's free. There are sections of the museum you have to pay for exhibits, but the section where Lord Varahadev is free. And I will go and I'll walk. Sometimes it's really hot in Texas, so I'll chant in the museum. Right? It's quiet and there's nobody there sometimes, and it's air conditioned and it's a big museum. It's a whole city block. You can walk up and down. And Lord Varahadev is in a couple sections up, a couple stories up, like the third floor. And I'll go there and I'll chant, and take darshan of this deity. I don't know if he was like a decorative piece on a temple or something, or if he was actually a worship deity, but either way, he's a beautiful, beautiful deity. So I always go to venerate him and think of Lord Varahadev. And Lord Chaitanya is involved with that pastime, right? He would sometimes take the mood of Hiranyakashipu, right? Or not Hiranyakashipu, excuse me, of Lord Nrsingadev, right? And also Lord Varahadev. Varahadev was mad too, and he had to fight. He had to fight Hiranyaksha. So Lord Chaitanya would sometimes, you hear these pastimes, and Lord Chaitanya would adopt this feeling, this mood of Hiranyakashipu. And devotees would get scared and they'd run out of the house and Lord Chaitanya would be chasing them around because he was in a Lord Nrsingadev mood. So very interesting. Any more questions? All right. Yeah, one more. Did I see a hand? No? Yes. Sorry.
So I had a quick comment about a part mentioned how we shouldn't be alone with since I'm in a female body, a man, but the verse mentions a woman. And when I first came to this regulation, I was kind of excused myself from it a little bit, and I was like, oh, sometimes it's just necessary or to get a ride somewhere or something like that. But I noticed that whenever I was kind of in that mentality, there was usually some reaction from it, some misery that would come from taking a way of convenience, like an easy way out. And so I noticed sometimes it takes an extra effort to follow this, but it's usually really worth it. You feel a lot more protected, safe in your consciousness, and there's always some reciprocation.
Wow, that's very, very realized position, realized understanding of what happened to you. Because you were able to see that and you were able to feel that, if I had, when I take a little bit extra effort, Krishna reciprocates. That's exactly what you're saying. That's really wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And you're very fortunate you feel that way. And that Krishna does reciprocate with you in that way. And the more you keep doing it, the more Krishna keeps reciprocating in that way. You think it's small, right? It feels small sometimes. But then you're like, wow, look what happened. Like, instead of going to see a movie, you go out with a devotee and you go walk and chant. And then all these wonderful things happen. That's it's little and it's big, but it's true. It's true that every moment Krishna's just waiting for us. And what are all the things we're going out to look at anyway? Can they compare with Krishna? Can they compare with Kalachandji? Can they compare with a painting? Even one of the paintings in here. You know what I mean? They can't. Nothing in the material world can compare. Think about it. There's some beautiful person who's a singer or a dancer or somebody famous in the world, right? And they're famous for whatever they can do. All of that comes from Krishna, the possessor of all beauty, all knowledge, all wealth. Just think of it. Why wouldn't we want to be attracted to that? Well, I can't see him yet. Right. There's a little bit of faith. You have to have faith that if I do these things, I will see Krishna one day. And we will. We can have faith in what Prabhupada said, what our gurus instruct us. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful realization. Yes, Prabhu.
When you're talking about the faith, I just remembered that incident when Prabhupada was, the reporter was asking Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, what, you're doing all this stuff, you have faith in Krishna, you're doing all this regulatory principles, following the process of Krishna consciousness. What if Krishna is not there? You want to share the light?
No, go ahead, tell us.
It's a comment and the appreciation of this process. And Prabhupada told that, fine, let's say if Krishna is not there, but even in the initial point when we join Krishna consciousness, as the Nectar of Devotion says, is Shubhada and Klesha Agni. The two things immediately go away. The first thing is Klesha Agni, all the miseries go away, and second thing is auspiciousness come. So even if the Krishna is not there, we are living in a very regulated way. We're enjoying, we're dancing at 4 o'clock in the morning through the unknown plant, Tulsi plant, and we are happy eating prasadam, and we're so clean. And what if the Krishna is here? What is going to happen to you? So Prabhu, I was appreciating that even if when a person joined, talking about me, initially when I joined Krishna consciousness, it's so much happiness and so much of, we can feel the experiences which are reciprocation getting from Krishna, that how it's so lively that we feel.
Yeah, no question about that. Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for sharing that. That's really good. It's really true that you feel it. What's the proof for Krishna? What's in your heart? You feel it, right? Like Mataji was saying, you get reciprocation. You feel it. You can feel it, how it works. So my spiritual master, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, one time I heard him say this, I think on a tape or maybe I read it, but he said, even if Krishna doesn't exist, this is still the best thing to do. He didn't say that. He said, even if all this is not true, I'm still going to do it. But it is true. So we know it is, right? Generations of devotees like Srila Prabhupada, these books, this knowledge. We've all read so many books, right? But then when you read Bhagavatam, you read Gita, does your head ever just explode almost? Do you ever just almost become overcome with pleasure because of this knowledge? It's so intricate. It's so amazing how Krishna explains things. And when you get that feeling of the reciprocation thing, it's there. I remember, just every time you sit down with the Bhagavatam and read, it's even more powerful when you sit and read with others, right? So how can all that be just made up? We're smart. We're all smart people, right? We've experienced all these other things before in millions of lifetimes to boot, right? We've tried to enjoy. We've made sex desire into a god, a goddess, and tried to worship it in past lifetime. We've done all these things already. We've already tried. That's not God. When you meet God and you know it, when you meet a movement and you meet devotees that are giving you God or giving you something that's real, oh, I don't understand God yet. Yeah, but I understand what they're giving me is real. I'm going to keep studying this, especially because of the promise, right? The promise. Become a pure devotee? Wow. A pure devotee doesn't care what happens to them. They're in ecstasy because they're remembering Krishna all the time. Curse me. Don't curse me. Heaven, hell, send me where you want. It doesn't matter. I'm still happy. I've still got Krishna inside. I understand this. And I'm not going to be bothered by the outer things, the material world. That's a pretty high thing, Even if it's not true, isn't that the greatest thing you ever heard in your life? I've never heard anything greater, so I'm sticking with it. Thank you, Prabhu.
Just a simple thing that when some Indians, when come to America, it's a disclaimer, it's not to all the Indians. Most of the time I see that they want to be Americans. They want to show off that, hey, we are Americans. We left the India, we left our scriptures, we have a dog, we have a car, we have a Tesla. Sorry, anything. So, well, BMW. So they make a show of, but I usually, when I go for books, I just say that amount of sense gratification a 13-year-old American do, you cannot even think of doing in like next 50 years.
I'm sorry, say it again.
The amount of sense gratification, whatever enjoyment the Americans are doing at the age of 13 a kid, you cannot even think of doing in 50 years. So don't compare yourself with those people. They are extremely high level of, means they are following the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. They enjoyed everything. They understood it, that there's nothing in it. And they are coming to Krishna consciousness. You should understand why they're coming. Because the amount of riches and opulence and energy they have, you cannot get that in 50 years also. They've been born in opulence,
Yeah. Well, Prabhupada said you just scratch an Indian person and they're Krishna conscious.
It's not that, Prabhupada. Trust me, America is not that.
There's just a level of anyone born really in India or anywhere on this planet. Prabhupada said that we were born here to propagate Krishna consciousness, but especially India. Especially India. If you're from India, you're to go out into the rest of the world and spread this knowledge, spread Krishna consciousness. If somebody has a Tesla or has a family or has some money, that's okay. It's okay to have a nice house. We have to provide for our loved ones. We're not supposed to live in poverty. And we're not going to attract the rest of the world if we're all, living in some really horrible circumstance. No. And Krishna doesn't do that. Krishna will, Krishna will fulfill all your desires. But be careful, because Krishna will fulfill all your desires. So what are your desires? Be careful. You really want to purify your desires. You really want to give up lust, greed, envy, anger. Because sometimes we get things in order to get rid of them.